Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, we've got some more bad news from the MadameX tour. Madonna is not rescheduling the October 7th show. Now, when the show was cancelled, um, fans were told to hold on to their tickets because it would be rescheduled. Um, and now she announced that it's not. So the September 10th show went ahead without any problems, as far as we know. Apparently, it was a good show. Um, she sold the Polaroid for $6,900, and there weren't any incidents. Supposedly, she's actually made some tweaks to the show, and there was some talk of her redesigning some costumes and stuff. So that's interesting, but I didn't really hear anything more than that. Now, what makes me sad is there's a fan called Joseph Scott, and we saw a bit of him on Oksana's channel and a few other things. He's a long-time fan. Apparently hasn't seen Madonna live yet, from what I could take. And he wanted to see her in New York, where it all began. So, and I think it began in small theatres with the Virgin Tour and some of her early shows that she did to promote her first album. Um, so, he booked tickets for September 12th. Now, the first three shows, September 12th, 14th, and 15th, were cancelled. September 12th and 14th were rescheduled for October 10th and October 12th. Now, unfortunately, Joseph, I guess, couldn't go to the October 10th concert it was rescheduled for. I'm assuming his ticket would have been transferable, but basically he missed the show, and he was supposed to go to the October 7th show. So he flew to New York again, and it was cancelled. So that's two shows he was going to that were cancelled. Now, this one was supposed to be rescheduled, and I don't know if he was waiting for that. He said that he's tried 3 times to see her. I don't know what the other time was, but he's had a lot of very bad luck. And it's bad enough this happens to one fan once, where they make all the plans and travel and everything, spend all the money to travel and hotels and everything, and the show gets cancelled. But for it to happen twice when he's rescheduled and then gone back, and the worst part was, well, not the worst part, but the one part wasn't very nice, was the rumor was that she'd cancelled at 6:30, but she didn't send anything out officially, so he had to work it out and go out based on rumor and go to the show and then find out when he was there from the staff that it was cancelled, and there still wasn't an official announcement at that time. And fans were still arriving not knowing the show had been cancelled, so I think they probably could have put out a official big announcement right away. That might have made it a little bit easier so people didn't actually go all the way there and get there and be in the line and find out that they're not going in. That's just a little bit harsher. So I'm not going to judge Madonna on that. I mean, she's about to go to Chicago, so presumably they just couldn't fit it in, and she needs time, or maybe she needs time off for her knee between the concerts. I'm not sure, but yeah, so that's a bit sad. Now, I kind of thought for the fun of it, I would do a little tour of Madonna tour cancellations, because I was just curious how this tour fares to other Madonna tours. Um, Now, the Virgin Tour, technically they did 40 shows and they had no cancellations, but technically they were supposed to go to London, and there was supposed to be a London leg, and that was cancelled. But it didn't get to the ticketing stage where people bought tickets and then they cancelled, so it doesn't really count. Now, sometimes I'll make excuses for Madonna occasionally. Now, I refer to this as a world tour. She only went to America and Canada, but Canada is another country, so as far as I'm concerned, 2 countries, world tour. So I refer to it as the, who like a Virgin world tour. Now, who's that girl? She did 38 shows, and apparently the first Japan shows were cancelled. I couldn't find any dates or how many, but it must have been at least 2 shows because it was referred to as shows. I don't know if they were rescheduled. She did, I think, 5 or 6 shows in Japan. And apparently the fans are a bit crazy there. I hear there were a lot of problems with fans. Now, Blonde Ambition. Now, this is the one where she famously had to cancel one show on July 11 in Italy because basically the Pope said Madonna's a whore. Don't go to a show, or you're not a good Catholic or Christian or whatever those people are. Um, so she had low ticket sales, and apparently there was a union strike. So I think some people refused to work on the show, so she had to cancel that show. And there were 4 other shows that were cancelled. In, of course, we all know this from Blonde Ambition. She had laryngitis, and she cancelled the May 25th, June 6th, 15 and 22 shows. So that's 5 shows altogether were cancelled for that. Now, the girly show, they did 47 shows. I'm kind of surprised how few shows she did in the early tours, because we're used to her doing like a lot more. The girly show had one tour cancelled, on one show cancelled on October 7 due to technical difficulties, and I forgot to write down where that was. Um, Somewhere in the world. Now, I know in Australia they postponed one concert because of weather, but they cancelled. So they cancelled a show and then they postponed it. Because I consider if you cancel a show, it's cancelled. If you reschedule it, then that's a rescheduled concert. It's not like it's the same concert. It's a different day. And if you reschedule weeks away, like some of the shows, like the MadameX show, the people who had plans cannot maintain the same plans. Like if it's just moved one day. I think the Sydney one, I think it was in Sydney and it was just moved one day or something, due to weather. So that would almost be considered a reschedule, because all the people who obviously were going to go to that, in theory, can still go. There's only one day difference. But if you move something a couple of weeks, you really are cancelling it and then making a whole nother show on another date. Now, the Drowned World Tour, she did 47 shows, same as the girly show. And there were 2 shows in Germany cancelled. On the 5th and the 6th of July due to technical problems, and 1 US show on August 3rd due to illness. Now, the Reinvention show and the Confessions tour, apparently there were no cancellations. I don't know if there were any shows rescheduled or if they were rescheduled with big gaps, because that's just not. Rescheduled shows in the sources I was looking at, like Wikipedia and that, they don't really show up. They just show actual cancelled shows where they weren't rescheduled. So I was kind of surprised that there weren't, because usually something goes wrong on a tour. There usually is at least one show. So you usually don't get through a whole tour of tens and tens of concerts without something going wrong. Now, Sticky and Sweet, she cancelled 4 shows. She did 84 shows. That was her big tour. That was the first one she did a lot of dates. And I think they had a break, and then they started the show up again after a break for another couple of months, and did a lot more shows. Now, I think that was the first show rumoured to come to Australia, because she was just like, screw it, I'm just going to stay on tour and do the whole world. But she still didn't come to Australia. So that was the first time I think I broke up with her. And those shows were July 8 in England, July 9 in France. That was a stage collapse. The July 8 cancellation is unknown. Germany, again, Germany's had a lot of bad luck. Unknown, they don't know why she cancelled. And August 20 in Slovenia, unforeseen circumstances. So they gave it a name, but sounds like they just made something up. The MDNA tour, she did 88 shows, more than Sticky and Sweet. I thought it would have made more. Okay, I need to do my research a little bit more about how much they've made. I might do some videos on the tours for the fun of it. There were 2 cancellations, one in Dallas for severe laryngitis, and July 11 for scheduling conflicts. I'm not sure when the cancellation was in Dallas, because I didn't write it down. I literally have just written notes. Now, the Rebel Heart show, apparently there were no cancellations, but I know for a fact in Sydney she was supposed to go to Brisbane the last 2 shows of the tour, and she moved them from the 26th and the 27th of March back into, I think, the 16th and the 17th, between Melbourne and Sydney. So I was actually going to book tickets for that because it was the last show. And then, even though I hate Brisbane and didn't want to go, but I thought, I want to be at the last show, in case it's the last tour, and it kind of is, last real arena tour. And then when they rescheduled Sydney, I was going to go to Sydney. When they rescheduled them between Melbourne and Sydney, I was going to go to Sydney anyway. So I thought, yes, I already got tickets for the last concerts. So I didn't go to the 2 Brisbane ones because they're in the middle of the week, and I hate Brisbane. And it was becoming very expensive, and I wanted to leave some money aside in case I could get a better ticket for Sydney, because I wasn't directly at the front, but then I ended up at the front anyway, so it was all good. So that's a little history there of Madonna cancelled tours for the whole of her career, which is not really bad when you look at it. Who's that girl? Maybe 2. Blonde Ambition 5. Girly Show 1. Drown World 3. Sticking Sweet 3. None for Reinvention and Confessions. 2 for MDNA and none for Rebel Heart. Although MDNA also was supposed to, and Confessions were all supposed to come to Australia, and I think both got to the stage of, it was pretty much planned out, and they had dates booked and venues booked, and it was cancelled last minute. So they didn't get to the point of releasing tickets and actually selling tickets, so they're not technically cancelled shows, but there's obviously sections and legs and things that have been planned and cancelled. So that's like a little history there. And there's not much else, just there's an article which basically says it doesn't actually give a reason why she couldn't reschedule. Presumably it's just because she's about to move to Chicago for the next sort of residency. And the statement from Madonna.com said, with the MadameX concerts departing from the Brooklyn Academy of Music this weekend, we regret to inform you that Madonna is unable to reschedule the concert previously scheduled for October 7th. We apologise for any inconvenience. Refunds will be available. Tonight's show, October 10th, the Saturday show, October 12th, will proceed as scheduled. And the 10th of October show did go ahead, and that got some rave reviews. Apparently she was back in full force. She wasn't like limping around or compromising her choreography or anything. She was back in shape, so hopefully the rest of the tour will go ahead without any problems. There were 2 other shows that were rescheduled though. The first show in San Francisco was rescheduled, and the first show in Chicago was rescheduled, where literally the first show of each leg was moved to a later date. So they were both rescheduled, so cancelled and rescheduled, and I've done videos on that. So that's where we are with the MadameX tour at the moment. Hopefully it will go ahead with no more problems. Hopefully her knee is healed, and it won't be something that keeps coming up throughout the tour and causes problems, because she's still got a lot of shows. I think she has about 80 or 90 planned. So she's done, I think, 14. So she's got a lot to go. So hopefully this knee doesn't keep coming back up. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, maybe even share. And if you have any information about shows that were cancelled or show stories, feel free to add some comments, because I like comments. Comments are fun. Talking to fans are fun. Except for the ones that hate me and tell me to get shot. But that happens apparently when you're on YouTube. Thanks. See you later. Bye.